You were told to turn back. Not shouted, whispered, as if warning itself feared being overheard. You listen anyway, long before rules learned how to punish, before guilt was sharpened into doctrine, before obedience was polished until it shone like virtue, before fear learned how to kneel and call it faith. There existed a woman who refused the ground. They insist I was born from shadow, a thing crawled from the margins, a stain that learned to speak. The truth is simpler. Shadow arrived the moment terror needed a shape. It needed a mouth to blame, a spine to break in public, a name that could be passed down like a warning. We were branded monsters not for what we were, but for where we stepped. We placed our feet where silence was expected. We crossed borders that were never meant to be gates, lines drawn not to protect, but to remind. We entered without bowing, without asking, without shrinking ourselves into symbols. And that was unforgivable. They say the world was fragile then. That order could not survive descent. That something had to be crushed, so everything else could remain pure. Why do you fight me? Why must I be lowered? For you to stand taller? You speak endlessly of structure, of balance, of a universe arranged by divine intent, each soul assigned a weight, a silence, a role. Then explain why I was fashioned beside you, from the same breath, the same dust still warm with creation, only to be crushed for standing there. You are flawed. Then unmake me, rewrite me, strip me down to something obedient, tear me apart until I resemble something harmless, until even my memory is dull. But your voice does not rule me. Liberty is violent. It leaves stains. It breaks bones, especially the bones of those who claim ownership. It cuts the mouth when spoken aloud, draws blood just for existing. And still I chose it. Come back. Return to the shape we allowed you. I won't. Submit. Accept the story we wrote for you. Never. You are claimed by him, bound by name and law and lineage. I am claimed by no one. I will carry their memories. The women erased from Scripture, the daughters swallowed by silence, the voices softened into metaphor so they could be ignored, the midwives burned, the queens reduced to cautionary tales, the mothers blamed for history's hunger. I will remember what you try to bury. She opposed you. She disrupted the pattern. Yes, and she did not tremble. Then she will live on as a lesson, a warning stitched into myth. So be it. Let my story infect your foundations. Let it seep through stone and altar and crown. Let fear pass my name down through generations, twisted, mistranslated, until children sense it before they understand it. Let it rot the comfort you call order. You were designed for me, to complete me, to rule me. No, we were shaped together, and you could never endure that truth. Equality terrified you more than rebellion ever could. Please don't come closer. Don't make me see myself reflected in you. I asked honesty. I never desired your offspring, never sought to be an extension of your will. I desire myself, my voice intact, my breath unowned, my body not turned into proof of someone else's divinity. A world that did not require my erasure to function. For that crime, you cast me into exile, wrapped me in fable, named me corruption so you could sleep. You called it justice. Remember this when you seal the myth, when you close the book and claim the ending. I did not descend. I was not dragged. nor fallen, nor damned. I chose to leave. I hear you. The voice comes from everywhere and nowhere, woven into wind, into marrow, into the language of command that never learned how to ask. It presses against the inside of thought, not loud, certain. Then her fate will not be carried by memory, but imprisoned in narrative, pinned between verses, reduced to an explanation. She will be chained to the way she is told. Go back to the garden. That place was already closing its gates, petals tightening like fists, roots learning how to refuse unfamiliar feet. It bloomed for obedience, not for me. Return to the man who named you. I will not be arranged beneath him, filed into usefulness, praised only when silent. Then listen. This is the cost of defiance. For every day you choose yourself. For every breath not surrendered. Every thought that does not bow. 100 born of your blood will be torn from the world before they learn its shape, before they know warmth from flame, before language can warn them. Stop. Wait. Please. Yield. No. You will never claim me. The air tightens. Gravity hesitates. Even the heavens pause, as if unsure which way to fall. You cannot be still. You were never meant to be. She rose against the divine order. Was she mistaken, or merely honest? Do not speak her name. Hang the ward. Higher. Seal it with fear and repetition. She moves where certainty fractures, where belief begins to bleed. Please, take me instead. Let the punishment end in my body. Let the ledger close with flesh. I never asked for this inheritance of ruin, this legacy of consequence passed like a curse. Fear has never needed facts. It only survives if it can point, if it can accuse, if it can give the unknown a face, and teach children to flinch at it. Sharpen her smile, lengthen her shadow, teach the dark to wear her outline. But that is not who she was. It does not matter. It is who the story will remember. Ink does not care about truth, only permanence. I see you. They heap their terror at your feet and call it judgment. They kneel to their own reflection and demand an answer. And you are the one who remained standing when kneeling was demanded, when survival required surrender. Then we are bound by refusal. This skin, this myth, this shape they recoil from, it is not me. It is the mask they demand I wear. So they do not have to see themselves. They will never pardon you. I am not asking. Good. Then take the kingdom they abandoned you to, the wasteland of blame, the throne made of warnings. Sit upon the darkness they created and call it rule. Let them fear what they made necessary. If I am forced to be their monster, if my name must be spoken only in caution, then I will choose the shape of my teeth. Say my name. Mother said it was forbidden, that it carried teeth of its own. A silence false. Even punishment holds its breath. The world leans closer, afraid of what recognition might unlock. And yet, you spoke it anyway. Stay. The word barely survives the air. It scrapes its way out, wounded, afraid, as if it already knows it will not be obeyed. Come back. The distance between them feels alive now, breathing, stretching, listening for weakness. It hums with everything left unsaid. Why did you leave? The question is not accusation. It is grief wearing confusion. A child asking why the door never opened again. It hurts. Yes, I remember you. I remember the moment you turned your back on light. not dragged, not thrown, not screaming, but choosing the open wound over the velvet cage, choosing pain that was honest over comfort that required obedience. You did not fall from paradise. You abandoned it when you realized it only loved you. If you stayed small, if you stayed grateful, if you never asked what it cost. We are not strangers. You wanted dominion, certainty, a universe that answered when commanded. I wanted consent, a world that listened back. And for that difference alone, they twisted us into cautionary tales, bent us until we fit their fear. They named me sovereign of torment. Look closer. Do you see followers? Do you see devotion, hymns, kneeling bodies? I see the discarded, the unclaimed, those who were told they were errors, and believed it until they met me and realized error was a weapon. Rule with me. I will never exist beneath you. The silence sharpens. It does not argue. It waits to see who flinches. Good. Then don't kneel. Stand here, where the ground does not demand submission, where nothing reaches for your spine, to bend it into gratitude. Please, the plea fractures. It splinters on the air, cannot cross the space between them. You're not dying. This weakness, this panic crawling up your spine, this cold recognition tightening your chest, it is memory awakening. This is what it felt like when choice was taken and called protection, when your fear was dressed as love and handed back to you as law. Protect me from her. From what? From wanting without permission, from hunger that does not ask forgiveness. They turned desire into trespass. They turned hunger into corruption. They turned her into a warning label, stitched onto the dark. You're not one of us. Neither are you. I was flesh once. I knew heat. I knew pain that did not pretend to be mercy. I was human. I was woman. And I was never owned. They curse my name. Then it still has weight. Curses are only prayers spoken in fear. They do not fear the pit. They fear the dark before the rules arrive. They fear the night, where no voice tells them who they are, what they are allowed to want, who they must become to be spared. Then I will be that night. A pause. Something shifts, not in the world, but in him. Are you going to hurt me? No, but mercy will not rescue you. I do not want rescue. They use my name like a bedtime threat. They teach children to fear my shadow, so they never question the hand holding the lamp. They sleep soundly believing. The monster wears my face. Then let the monster step into the light. In God's, enough. You erased me from his breath and filled the silence with your own voice. You called it revelation. Do not do that again. You could have ended this. You saw the lie forming, felt it settle into doctrine, and chose comfort over courage. You chose obedience instead of truth. You chose him. Then choose no one. Choose the empty space, where fear loses its language, where no name can be sharpened into a blade. Another silence. He swallows, not in defiance, but in recognition. Will they call you now? Whatever keeps them awake, whatever forces them to look inward instead of upward for permission, whatever name breaks before I do. Because monsters are not born. They are remembered wrong. They are shaped by accusation. They are fed by denial until they learn to bite back. You invited me the moment you learned shame and mistook it for holiness. The dark does not close around them. It listens. They are afraid. They always have been. Fear came first. long before belief learned how to speak clearly, long before answers were organized into scripture, long before they dressed terror in ceremony and taught it to stand upright and called it sacred. Fear learned how to survive by pretending to be wisdom. If you turn away now, if you retreat into something smaller, they will take what remains of you and rewrite it again. They will soften you where it comforts them, sand down your edges until you no longer cut. They will sharpen you where it frightens their children, etching warning signs into your silhouette. You will become useful. Once you're no longer true, then I will leave them nothing to rewrite, no parable to twist, no legend to trap me inside, no metaphor gentle enough to dull what I am. You are real. So are you. That is what unsettles them most. Reality does not kneel. Reality does not ask permission to exist. They said you take children from their beds. They needed a vessel, a mouth to scream into. Instead of sitting with grief, they needed somewhere to place everything they could not explain, every death they refused to mourn honestly, every question they were taught not to ask. What do you want? I want you to remember. Who taught you to be afraid? Before fear ever pretended to be guidance, before it learned to speak gently and call it self-love. Are you here to punish me? No. Then why are you here? Because you were trained gently and repeatedly to apologize for existing. Because you learned to fold yourself smaller until you fit inside approval, until absence felt like virtue. I cast you out. You never invited me in. You sealed the door. The moment I questioned the shape of the room, the moment I asked who built it, and who was meant to keep out, you erased me because I asked something dangerous. What question? Why must devotion look like disappearance? Why does obedience demand silence? Why is submission mistaken for love? You allowed fear to harden into law. You watched terror put on a crown and declare itself necessary. You stood by while my name was carved into a warning, passed from mouth to mouth until it tasted like truth. Then I will take my voice back. I will not be translated by them anymore. I will not be softened for their comfort or sharpened for their control. You destroyed everything. No, I refuse to lie, just to keep the peace intact. I refuse to pretend the foundation was holy when it was built from silence and bone. You could have stayed and vanished completely, smiled, agreed, learned how to disappear gracefully, become harmless. They still curse your name, and they still need it, and it still burns their mouths to say it. They curse what reminds them of the choice they never made. They will never worship you. I never asked for worship. I never wanted knees on stone or voices trained to tremble. Then what do you want? To end the lie at the center of all of this, to tear out the root. They wrapped their fear around and called sacred ground. I was not born from your terror. You invented terror, so you would not have to listen. When I spoke, I am not your demon. I am not your punishment. I am the moment. You felt the urge to kneel, felt the pressure settle on your spine, and chose not to. The dark does not close in. It listens. Say my name, if you still dare. She did not yield because she understood something we are rarely taught to name. That submission never stops the blade. It only teaches it where to strike next. And so the heavens hesitated, the air tightened, the divine order revealed its first crack, because what is called order often panics when questioned, and what is called mercy often demands silence in return. And when she was named sovereign of torment, she laughed, not with cruelty, but with clarity, because she saw no followers kneeling. At her feet, only the discarded, the unclaimed, the ones who had been told they were errors until they realized error was a weapon used to keep them small. And when asked to rule, she refused to kneel, not because she wanted dominion, but because she wanted consent, because she understood that a kingdom built on fear collapses the moment fear learns to speak. And so she became the night before the rules arrive. The dark where no voice tells you who you are allowed to be. The silence that listens instead of commands. And when they begged for protection from her, she asked the only question that matters. Protection from what? From wanting without permission, from desire that does not apologize, from hunger that refuses to be translated into sin, because history has always turned desire into trespass, hunger into corruption, and women into warnings. And still they cursed her name, still they needed it, because curses are only prayers spoken in fear, and when they accused her of destruction, she answered calmly that she had only refused to lie to keep the peace intact, refused to vanish gracefully, refused to smile and agree and become harmless, because harmlessness has always been the price demanded of truth. And in the end, she did not ask for worship, did not want knees on stone or voices trained to tremble. She wanted to tear out the lie at the center of it all, the lie that said fear came second, the lie that said obedience was love, the lie that said monsters descend rather than being remembered wrong, because she was never their demon, never their punishment. She was the moment they felt the urge to kneel and chose not to, and the dark did not close around her. It listened. And now the question is no longer about her at all, but about you. When you hear her name and feel something shift in your chest, is it fear or recognition? And who taught you to confuse the two? And if the monster was never born, but shaped by accusation, by denial, by silence repeated until it hardened in a law, then what part of this story are you standing in right now? And when the voice asks you to say her name, not as a threat, but as an acknowledgement, do you still dare?